The abyss had no bottom. It did not roar, nor did it rage. It merely breathed an endless silent inhalation that devoured light, sound, and will alike. Cultivators who approached it spoke of an invisible force that tore at flesh and soul, dragging all things toward oblivion. Wang Lin stood at its edge. Behind him lay the path of retreat, survival, and certainty. Before him stretched a darkness that had consumed countless lives and erased entire histories. One step forward meant surrendering to an unknown fate. One step back meant abandoning truths that might never be revealed again. In this place, even time hesitated. And yet, it was here on the brink between ascent and descent that Wang Lin would make a choice capable of overturning his Tao, his past and the future of his soul. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. The terrifying suction from the outside clawed relentlessly at Wang Lin's body. The opening of the crack resembled the gaping maw of an ancient beast poised to swallow him whole. The pull was overwhelming. His clothes and hair were dragged violently toward the fissure, fluttering wildly. Beneath his skin, uneven bulges appeared as his blood and flesh were distorted by the immense force. Wang Lin remained seated in the lotus position for 7 days. Throughout those 7 days, he gradually acclimated to the strength of the suction at this location. On the 7th day, he opened his eyes, rose, and stepped forward once more. He crossed directly into the area within 10 feet of the crack's opening. Instantly, the suction engulfed him. His body tilted slightly, as though invisible hands had seized him, dragging him inexorably forward. Wang Lin's expression darkened. He slowly sat down, carefully adjusting himself to withstand the force. The circulation of blood within his body had nearly come to a standstill. If not for the celestial spiritual energy flowing through him, countless parts of his body would have suffered severe injury. Still not enough, Wang Lin murmured inwardly. After a brief moment of contemplation, he severed the flow of celestial spiritual energy within his body. The instant he did so, his figure was yanked violently toward the crack. Just as his body reached the edge, Wang Lin struck his bag of holding. 7 swords shot forth simultaneously, forming a formation in mid-air before plunging down like falling stars, stabbing deep into the ground around him. Threads of lightning surged between the 7 swords, anchoring Wang Lin in place. The lightning intensified, weaving into a dense net that bound his body securely. Wang Lin slowly settled into a seated position within the 7-star sword formation. He now sat at the very edge of the crack. A frigid aura permeated the surroundings, while the piercing howl of the suction echoed endlessly in his ears. His origin soul had already been seized by the suction force, showing signs of being torn from his body. Yet at this critical moment, the mysterious barrier manifested once more, sealing his origin soul firmly within. Not only his origin soul, even his slaughter intent began to condense and was gradually dragged outward. Born from the heart of slaughter, it manifested as streaks of crimson light beneath his skin. Time passed. Suddenly, Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He advanced another 3 feet. The 7 swords shifted with him. The suction intensified once more, and another crimson line surfaced beneath his skin. The overwhelming force wrapped around the 7 swords, causing them to emit piercing sword hymns. The sword spirits emerged, merging into a single entity that continuously shifted forms, struggling to counter the pull. Lightning crackled violently as the swords drew closer together, appearing to fuse with the earth itself as they advanced. As Wang Lin moved forward, more crimson lines surfaced beneath his skin, spreading rapidly until his entire body glowed red. There were countless such lines. If one were to count them, there would be exactly 1 million. Precisely the same number as the strands of slaughter energy. The crimson lines flickered beneath his skin, yet Wang Lin's mind remained tranquil. He drew in a slow, steady breath. He had reached the very brink of the crack. Still, it was not enough. The slaughter intent was exposed but not expelled. Wang Lin lifted his gaze toward the boundless darkness beyond the fissure. A sharp light ignited in his eyes, allowing him to see nearly 200 feet below, where a massive rock jutted out from the cliff face. An ancient teleportation array lay etched upon its surface. After calculating silently, Wang Lin leapt from the crack. His figure became a streak of lightning, hurtling straight toward the massive rock 200 feet away. The seven-star sword formation followed him out of the crack. Instantly, the suction from the depths below erupted, surging to a terrifying degree. Here, the suction was countless times stronger. In a single instant, several crimson lines were torn from Wang Lin's body. The moment they emerged, they writhed violently, as if struggling for life before dissolving into crimson mist and vanishing into the abyss. Simultaneously, the seven swords began spinning at extreme speed around Wang Lin, forming a violent vortex. A powerful repulsive force erupted from it, growing stronger with each rotation. Encased within the formation, Wang Lin stepped toward the massive rock. His focus was absolute. Any lapse would doom him to be dragged into the abyss. The surrounding cold aura thickened, and the suction became even more terrifying. It felt as though a colossal hand pressed down from above, while another mercilessly tore at him from below. The shrill whistling resembled the roar of the master of this forbidden place. The sword formation had reached its limit. It was no longer enough. Wang Lin and the formation were dragged downward. At that instant, his eyes blazed. A shadowy black figure appeared beneath his feet, tightly bound to him. It muttered indistinctly while forming seals with its hands. In a flash, a violent tornado erupted, momentarily halting the suction. Carried by the storm, Wang Lin and the sword formation surged toward the massive rock. The moment his feet touched the rock, Wang Lin exhaled deeply. The sword formation combined with the puppet could resist the suction, but only briefly. He sat down immediately. There was no time to examine the teleportation array. Instead, he focused solely on forcing the remaining crimson lines from his body. With a wave of his hand, the tornado vanished, retreating into the puppet, hidden within his shadow. The seven swords continued spinning rapidly. Without the tornado, the suction slammed into him once more. Wang Lin clenched his teeth. Veins bulged across his face, giving him a fierce, almost savage appearance. More crimson lines were torn free. They struggled violently as though alive, yet were ultimately ripped from his body and exploded into red mist. For a moment, it was as though Wang Lin had grown crimson fur, countless writhing lines protruding from his flesh. The sight was grotesque and surreal. The red mist never ceased. One cloud dispersed, another immediately formed. Again and again. After an unknown span of time, the crimson faded from Wang Lin's skin, gradually revealing his natural complexion. He took a deep breath and suddenly opened his eyes. The puppet reappeared, conjuring another tornado that carried him back into the crack. After great effort, Wang Lin reached a region within the crack untouched by suction. His entire body felt drained, like someone who had battled a late-stage ascendant cultivator for 10 days and 10 nights, without rest. In recent days, he had simultaneously resisted the suction, controlled the sword formation, expelled the crimson lines, and circulated celestial spiritual energy to stabilize himself. The burden was immense. Aware that a single mistake could spell his end, Wang Lin chose to rest. Once he recovered, he would continue. After a brief adjustment, his eyes brightened. He commanded the sword formation and stepped out once more. This process repeated for months. On this day, 4 years after becoming trapped here, Wang Lin sat upon the massive rock. Beneath the skin of his right hand, a final crimson line trembled under the suction. With an unwilling cry, it was pulled from his fingertip, dissolving into red mist. The last strand was gone. Wang Lin opened his eyes. Though exhaustion filled them, a cold gleam flashed within. Celestial slaughter art. He pondered deeply before the coldness faded. He glanced once at the teleportation array, then ignored it completely. Instead, he focused on the surrounding suction. Only by integrating with it could he perceive its subtleties. To understand it, he could not resist. He had to become transparent, allowing the suction to pass through him. Days turned into years. Wang Lin sat here for 3 years. The sword formation lay dormant, embedded in the ground. Wang Lin appeared fused with the rock itself. At first, the suction could still move him slightly, until gradually it passed through him unhindered. Another 3 years slipped away. The suction no longer disturbed even his hair or robes. Neither body nor mind moved. Within this stillness, Wang Lin entered a profound, mysterious state. He felt as though he had vanished. And because he no longer existed, the suction could not affect him. Yet it still could not pass through his origin soul. This incompleteness lingered. He could merge his body with the suction, but not yet his consciousness. So he waited, calmly, patiently. Within that state, he allowed his origin soul to disperse. 5 more years passed. 15 years stranded. 11 years seated upon that rock. His origin soul fully dissolved, completely merging with the suction. In the 17th year, Wang Lin opened his eyes. Traces of time etched themselves into his gaze as he calmly stared into the abyss. To merge mind and suction, any resistance makes it impossible. To comprehend it fully, I must become it. He had pondered this for years. Easy to say, nearly impossible to do. The whistling had become familiar. It was the voice of the suction. Wang Lin inhaled deeply and closed his eyes. Go down. That woman's voice echoed once more within his origin soul. Wang Lin's eyes snapped open, lightning flashing within them. He looked down into the darkness. The light in his eyes intensified, then suddenly vanished. After 13 years of stillness, he stood and stepped forward. He used no spell. Like a mortal stepping off a cliff, he fell into the void. Darkness devoured him. As he fell, the cold intensified frost forming along the walls. The suction tore at him like countless merciless hands. Yet Wang Lin ignored it all. His only thought, become the suction, fuse, transform, exist. Thunderous booms erupted from his origin soul as the suction surged through his body and consciousness. At that moment, Wang Lin opened his eyes. Though still descending, a faint smile appeared on his lips. He inhaled and stopped falling. The suction passed through him freely. Body, soul, consciousness, all had merged. He was the suction. Below him lay no bottom, only an endless abyss capable of devouring all existence. It is time to leave. My Dao's third ability, the power of the underworld. Wang Lin lifted his head and slowly began to rise. Go down. I'm begging you. Go down. For the first time, emotion trembled within the woman's voice. Wang Lin halted. I'm begging you. Go down. Take me down. Sadness and urgency intertwined within the woman's voice, trembling as it echoed. Wang Lin fell silent. The voice, absent for 13 long years, resounded once more within his mind. During the 13 years he spent comprehending the suction force, the woman had never spoken a single word. Yet now emotions flowed clearly through her voice, emotions that had never been there before. He raised his right hand and brushed the bag of holding. The scroll flew out. It radiated a gentle, hazy glow, completely unaffected by the terrifying suction force. The scroll unfurled, revealing the woman's slender figure, her back facing outward. For the first time, Wang Lin examined her carefully. Though only a silhouette, her figure carried an indescribable aura, an elegance so peerless that it seemed untouched by the mortal world. I beg you, take me down. Her voice softened, almost breaking. I cannot leave this scroll. You won't be in danger. I only want to take a look. Wang Lin pondered in silence. I cannot help you in any way. I cannot give you anything. She paused, her voice trembling. But I beg you, take me down there. Wang Lin lowered his head, gazing into the abyss below. Endless darkness stretched beneath him, suffused with bone-chilling cold. I cannot help you, Wang Lin said calmly. If you wish to leave, then leave. He shook his head and turned away, ascending upward without another glance at the scroll. He had too many things to do. Before the All-Seer and the others arrived at the demon spirit land, he had to remove all the restrictions within the cave. Only then could he enter the true cave dwelling. Though he didn't know exactly when the All-Seer would arrive, his conversation with Yao Shixue had given him several clues it wouldn't be long. Time was unbearably tight. He had no room for curiosity. More importantly, he had to ensure the All-Seer did not see through him, so he could leave the demon spirit land alive. One mistake and the price would be his life. He had far too little time. Inside the scroll, the woman's figure trembled violently. She struggled to turn around, but the seal restraining her was absolute. No matter how hard she tried, she could not move. Watching Wang Lin fly higher and higher until he was nearly out of sight, she bit her lip. Then, in a soft voice that barely carried through the void, she spoke. Don't you want to know the true history of the bead inside your origin soul?" Her words reached Wang Lin clearly. They were like 10,000 thunderclaps exploding inside his mind. His body froze mid-air. Before he could recover, "Don't you want that woman's shattered soul to revive?" If the previous sentence had been 10,000 thunderclaps, then these words were 100,000, no, millions detonating at once, shaking his origin soul to its very core. At that instant, Wang Lin's memories, his emotions, his entire existence erupted like a catastrophic flood. It was as though the heavens themselves had collapsed. Even with his formidable mental strength, his body began to tremble uncontrollably. He turned, his eyes locked onto the scroll. At this moment, his gaze was no longer calm, no longer restrained. It was the gaze of a ferocious beast, wild, desperate, stripped bare of the serenity cultivated over 800 years. At this moment, what all-seer, what cave, what blood ancestor, what demon spirit land, all of it collapsed. The only thing that existed was Wang Lin's crazed stare fixed upon the woman. "What did you say?" His voice was hoarse, distorted, carrying a tone that had never before belonged to Wang Lin. Just 4 simple words, yet they contained an indescribable weight. Even the eternal howling of the suction force, which had existed for countless years, seemed to weaken at this moment. The woman spoke softly. "I can tell you the origin of the bead. I can tell you the method to resurrect the soul within it. I can even give you the chance to leave this place." Wang Lin slowly closed his eyes. He didn't want to think. He didn't want to question whether her words were true or false. He didn't want to ask why she knew his deepest secrets. He didn't want to. When he opened his eyes, he said nothing. He stepped forward, seized the scroll, and charged straight toward the depths of the pit. Even if there was only the faintest chance, he would fight for it. A person will always have one thing, one weakness, where no matter how wise, how calm, how rational they are, everything collapses instantly, even when facing boundless danger, even when life and death hang in the balance. They will still persist. Wang Lin was still a person. He was not a merciless celestial, nor was he a heartless god. After cultivating for more than 800 years, calmness had seeped into his bones, becoming his very nature. He could calmly leave planet Suzaku. He could ruthlessly leave Zhou Ru a bag, waiting for the day she would open it. He could calmly face any enemy, no matter how powerful, without his Tao heart wavering in the slightest. Yet there was one power, a power capable of shattering that calmness completely. Only after losing something does one realize they had always wanted it. Only after losing something does one realize how deeply they had wished to cherish it. If someone were eternally rational, eternally unmoved, could they still be called a person? Wang Lin could not do it. Sadness flickered in his eyes as he gripped the scroll tightly and plunged downward like a falling meteor. At this moment, he did not want to think. He was unwilling to distinguish truth from deception. Inside the scroll, the woman let out a soft sigh. "You can rest assured. I am not deceiving you," she whispered. "I made a great decision. Just to tell you all of this." Wang Lin remained silent. His grip tightened further, as though he were not holding a scroll but hope itself. The cold radiating from the walls intensified, and the suction force grew ever stronger. Time passed how much no one knew. The pit seemed truly bottomless. No matter how far he descended, only endless darkness awaited, stretching without end. Almost there, almost there. The woman's voice trembled. Here the suction force was unimaginably powerful. Wang Lin's body was carried along with it. Perhaps a day passed, perhaps a month, perhaps a year. At last, a short corridor emerged from the darkness below. Within it spun a massive vortex rotating slowly. The terrifying suction force originated from that vortex, yet strangely the suction seemed sealed within. At this exact location, there was not the slightest trace of pulling force, as though only beyond a certain distance did the suction suddenly erupt. As Wang Lin gazed at the vortex, a peculiar force surged from the scroll and entered his body. Power condensed within his eyes. In that instant, his vision pierced through the vortex. A vast starry sky appeared, countless cultivation planets drifting silently. It was another world. This is... Wang Lin stared at the vortex, deeply shaken. At this moment his calmness returned. The woman's voice drifted softly from the scroll. My homeland. All Heaven Star System. All Heaven Star System. Wang Lin's pupils constricted sharply. Within his memories, there was no trace of any information regarding the All Heaven Star System. Even within Tusi's memories, there was not a single reference to it. Inside the scroll, the woman trembled. It seemed as though she wanted to turn around, yet an invisible force restrained her, preventing her from doing so. Home. Wang Lin pondered briefly. His gaze remained fixed upon the scroll as he spoke in a calm, steady tone. I've already brought you here. Now it's your turn. The woman sighed softly, her voice drifting out with an ethereal quality. Do you wish to hear a story? Wang Lin frowned, gloom clouding his expression. He replied coldly, not interested. The woman was momentarily startled. A bitter smile appeared upon her unseen face as she began to speak nonetheless. Long ago there existed a mysterious domain. It was once the holy land of cultivators from across the world, no, from the entire universe. It was known as the Celestial Domain. Over the long river of time, most rumors of the Celestial Domain have vanished. No one is even certain whether it truly existed. However, one legend has endured. It is said that the Celestial Domain abandoned the cultivators and departed from this universe entirely. All that remained were 4 tunnels that once connected to it. After countless years, those 4 tunnels became places that high-level cultivators were destined to visit, eventually forming what became known as the Celestial Realms. These 4 celestial realms are wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. She paused briefly before continuing. Beneath each of the 4 celestial realms lies a corresponding star system. Above my all-heaven star system is the Thunder Celestial Realm. The heaven-defying bead does not belong to the Alliance star system. It first appeared within my all-heaven star system. No one knows how it came into existence, but the moment it appeared, all the top cultivators of all heaven sensed the presence of the ancient celestial domain. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. A cold glint flashed within them as he stared at the scroll, yet he remained silent. One can easily imagine what happened next. A trace of the ancient celestial domain drove the cultivators mad with desire. However, in the end, the bead vanished mysteriously. Countless years later, we obtained fragments of information. For reasons unknown, the bead appeared within the Rain Celestial Realm of the Alliance star system. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with killing intent. He pointed upward and said coldly, "It was you who set that teleportation array." The woman fell silent for a long time before shaking her head. I did not enter the Alliance star system from here. However, that teleportation array was indeed constructed by a cultivator from the All-Heaven star system. It is no longer functional unless an All-Heaven stone is used. Not even a celestial jade can activate it. I have told you everything I know regarding the heaven-defying bead. As for the soul within it, my ancestor can certainly help you. As long as you bring me back to the All-Heaven star system and send me home, I will personally ask my ancestor to help you revive the soul inside the bead. Wang Lin stared at the scroll for a long time, his gaze icy and unreadable. Eventually he withdrew his eyes. The moment he saw the All-Heaven star system beyond the vortex, he had already regained his composure. Everything the woman said was clearly meant to lure him there. He asked calmly, "Which sect do you belong to in the All-Heaven star system?" "The All-Heaven star system differs from your Alliance star system," the woman replied softly. "There are no sects, only cultivation families. I belong to the Xiang family on planet Donghua." Wang Lin appeared thoughtful. After a moment he said, With my current cultivation, I'm afraid I cannot pass through this vortex. The woman shook her head gently. You possess the heaven-defying bead. You should certainly be able to pass. A faint, cold glimmer flickered within Wang Lin's eyes. Since she was so confident, it was clear she was concealing far more than she revealed. Without further wasting time, Wang Lin reached out, seized the scroll, and turned away. Instead of entering the vortex, he flew upward. The woman's voice immediately rang out, anxious and strained. Don't you want to revive the soul inside the bead? Wang Lin did not reply. He expanded his origin soul, merging fully with the suction force, and continued upward. No matter what the woman said along the way, Wang Lin remained silent. After an indeterminate amount of time, he arrived back at the massive rock. Across from it lay the crack. He landed upon the rock and carefully examined the teleportation array. Lightning surged from his origin soul, traveling through his feet and into the stone. Crackling sounds echoed as lightning spread throughout the rock. Then, with a thunderous boom, the massive rock shattered into countless fragments, which were instantly swallowed by the suction force. With the rock gone, this place became no different from any other part of the abyss. Wang Lin grasped the scroll and entered the crack 200 feet away. Once inside, he waved his hand, embedding the scroll deep into the stone wall. His eyes turned icy as his hands rapidly formed seals. Countless restrictions descended, layering themselves densely around the scroll. Why are you doing this? Without my help, the soul within your heaven-defying bead can never be revived. The woman's anxious voice echoed from within the scroll. Sound sealed. Wang Lin's eyes flashed as his hands moved even faster. The restrictions multiplied until they covered nearly the entire crack. He had already examined the scroll while ascending and knew he could not destroy it. Yet the woman knew far too many of his secrets. Since he could not kill her, he would seal her forever. Wang Lin, without me, the soul inside your bead will never resurrect. Her voice turned vicious like a ghost's wail. Wang Lin's expression remained dark and unyielding. His hands did not slow. The voice gradually weakened until it vanished completely. The sealing process lasted for several months. Throughout it all, Wang Lin never paused. Countless restrictions fused together, forming a terrifying, unbreakable seal. After several months, Wang Lin stepped back and flew upward. A cold gleam flashed through his eyes as his right hand struck the crack. The crack collapsed instantly, burying the scroll deep within the cave. From the outside, nothing appeared unusual. No one would ever suspect that a woman was sealed within a scroll hidden here. Even if someone arrived, they would be too preoccupied resisting the suction force to examine a wall no different from any other. After finishing, Wang Lin did not leave immediately. He retreated a distance and waited silently. Time passed slowly. Several days later, a faint fluctuation emerged from the sealed location. The moment it appeared, Wang Lin opened his eyes, a cold smile curling at the corner of his lips. He formed a seal with one hand. A black shadow surged out from behind him, the celestial guard. Seal! Wang Lin roared as the celestial guard mirrored his movements. A powerful seal slammed down upon the fluctuation. A faint, miserable groan echoed. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. Together with the celestial guard, he placed countless additional restrictions deep within the crack. Only after this did he withdraw the celestial guard and resume waiting. Several months later, the fluctuation appeared again, only to be sealed once more. After it happened 3 times, Wang Lin pondered briefly, then ceased waiting and flew upward. The woman within the scroll is likely extremely powerful, but being sealed within it, she would never have had a chance to escape. However, she once absorbed the third ancestor's spell and gained a portion of power. I did not investigate thoroughly, allowing her to learn many of my secrets over the years. If not for the unique circumstances of the Tide Abyss, she would never have spoken. She would have waited silently for recovery. Wang Lin's gaze grew colder. A hidden danger at my side will eventually bring disaster. She undoubtedly has ulterior motives. As he ascended, his thoughts continued. Only about 30% of her words were true. However, the all-heaven star system should be real, otherwise she would not have insisted I take her there. Wang Lin's eyes brightened as he rose. The suction force remained powerful. Even though he had merged with it, a pressure still resisted his ascent. He inhaled deeply and slapped his bag of holding. The seven-star sword formation emerged surrounding him and generating a powerful thrust that propelled him upward. The Xiang family of planet Donglin. Even if the woman has no direct connection to them, I should still be able to uncover clues regarding her identity. Since she claimed her family's ancestor could revive Wana, it is worth verifying. His eyes turned cold. Without the scroll by my side, even if I go to the all-heaven star system, no one will know I possess the heaven-defying bead. The demon spirit land is rife with danger, and the all-seer and the others may arrive at any time. Once they do, an encounter will be inevitable. Facing cultivators whose strength I cannot even fathom, I would have no power to resist. As Wang Lin ascended, his gaze sharpened. However, the final token is in my possession. Without me, they cannot enter the true cave. Even if they reach the demon spirit land, it will be meaningless. Even if greed reveals that I hold the token, it will already be too late. I will have left for the all-heaven star system. When my cultivation reaches the point where I can stand on equal footing with the all-seer and the others, I will return and uncover the secret of this cave. Wang Lin's eyes shone brightly. Before that, there are matters that must be settled. Once I leave, I don't know when I will return. He let out a soft sigh. The seven-star sword formation gradually lost its effect. The shadow appeared once more behind him, and the celestial guard summoned a tornado, further accelerating his ascent. He was drawing closer and closer to the entrance of the abyss. Outside the pit, a massive swarm of mosquitoes roared. The purple mosquito's once listless eyes suddenly blazed with light. It shoved aside its companions, stared into the abyss, and let out piercing cries filled with indescribable joy. Its body trembled as it flapped its wings and charged downward without hesitation. Even though the entire swarm cried out simultaneously, none could stop it. As Wang Lin ascended, he immediately sensed the roars above. He looked up and saw the mosquito beast he had not seen for over a decade. The moment it saw Wang Lin, its eyes overflowed with joy. It circled him repeatedly, crying out like a child reunited with a long-lost parent. Excitedly, it flew beneath Wang Lin and carried him upward. With the celestial guard's tornado aiding them, Wang Lin shot straight out of the pit. The instant he emerged, Wang Lin finally exhaled deeply. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.